Hello everyone and welcome back to Positional Play, the channel where we dive deep into the tactical aspects of the beautiful game of football. I'm Tolga and today we have an exciting topic lined up, one of the standout teams in Europe this season and a personal favorite of mine to watch these days. None other than Inter Milan or
Internazionale. That's the proper name, that's the name! Internazionale!
This team, under the guidance of the brilliant Simone Inzaghi, has been turning heads with their exceptional performances and all-around excellence on the pitch. In today's video, we will dissect Inzaghi's tactical genius, explore how Inter has become a complete team, and try to execute every aspect of their game. So buckle up as we take a closer look at the intricate tactics, player movements, and strategies that make Inter Milan a force to be reckoned within European football. But before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on our in-depth analysis of top footballing sites. Inter Milan's journey since the late periods of the previous season was nothing short of spectacular. Their form in the last quarter of the last season showcased resilience, determination, and a glimpse of what was to come in this season. It's important to note that their only defeats during this period came against the powerhouse Manchester City in the Champions League final, a match where Inter truly deserved to find the back of the net, and against Napoli, the eventual Scudetto winner. Worth mentioning is the fact that Inter fielded mostly with their second team in the Napoli match, right after the grueling Champions League semi-finals. In the midst of these challenges, Inter clinched the Coppa Italia, beat their arch-rivals AC Milan in both legs of the Champions League semi-finals, and earned widespread admiration for their performance against the formidable treble-winning Manchester City. However, what's truly intriguing is how their last season finale was merely a trailer for the upcoming season. The current campaign in Italy is a testament to Inter Milan's continuous evolution, proving that their impressive run was no fluke. Let's delve into the specifics of their gameplay and the tactical brilliance that has set them apart in European football. Inter Milan's success on the field can be seen from the statistics that underline their dominance. They currently stand as the second best team in terms of points per game across the top 5 European leagues, trailing only behind the unbeaten Bayer Leverkusen by only 0.01 points per game, showcasing their strong winner mentality. In Serie A, Inter reigns supreme with the best goal difference and expected goal difference, surpassing even last season's remarkable Napoli. Their defensive solidity is a cornerstone of their success, boasting an impressive 15 clean sheets in 24 Serie A matches and a staggering 21 clean sheets across all competitions so far. Conceding just one goal every 2 games, they hold the best defensive record in Europe. But it is not just their defensive performance that sets them apart. Offensively, Inter displays a versatility and adaptability that's second to none. They exhibit a multifaceted approach to breaking down opposition defenses. This adaptability is further highlighted by their leading position in both build-up and direct attacks in Serie A as recorded by Opta. They are leading Serie A with 3.1 big chances created per game. Inter's possession statistics also showcase their flexibility. Unlike some of Europe's top teams who prioritize possession, Inter can relinquish the ball if it aligns with their strategic objectives regarding opponents' strengths and weaknesses and the game state. In nearly half of their games this season, they have held less than 55% possession, yet remarkably, they haven't lost any of these matches. Instead, they focus on using the ball efficiently when they have it, evident to their ability to progress the ball into dangerous areas and create scoring opportunities. For example, they are at 21st place in total touches per game, however they are at the 5th place in XG created in top 5 European leagues, demonstrating how efficient they are in creating chances from much less touches compared to other giants of Europe. And what is great about them is that if it is a game that they need control through holding the possession, they do it comfortably as well. For example, last weekend's comfortable win against Salernitana, the last place team in Serie A, they recorded an incredible 94% field hit, showing how much they held the ball at the opponent turf to control the game. And they won the game 4-0. On the other hand, earlier this season against Fiorentina, who is famous with their aggressive high press but having problems with their very high defensive line sometimes, Inter only held 39% possession and won the game 4-0 again. This blend of defensive solidity, attacking flair and tactical flexibility has been instrumental in Inter's success this season. proving their status as one of Europe's most formidable sides. Before going further details, I must start with a disclaimer. I'm not gonna say a single bad thing about Inter in this video because they are good at everything. Low mid-block defense, unbreakable. High press, effective. Transitions, always dangerous. Build-up play, one of the best in the world. Chance creation, efficient. Easily set or adapted to the tempo of the game, they are so complete. Whatever intention they have, they know how to control the game with or without the ball. The game is played at the tempo they want, the ball goes to where they want it to go. So let's first focus on Inter's tactics in out of possession phase to understand how they still control the game without the ball. Under Simone Inzaghi's guidance, Inter maintains a consistent 5-3-2 formation. However, this doesn't mean Inter is only good at one way of defending. Whether they use a high line or low line, whether they are aggressive and pressing high or waiting at low or mid block, Inter players execute their defensive duties with precision and adaptability, tailoring their approach to the opponent's in-possession habits and the game states. It is fair to say 5-3-2 is an effective formation against teams using typical positional 5-corridor approaches during attacking, and 5-3-2 is also certainly a simple and efficient formation to switch between high press and lower block defending. Let's say Inter play against a team that builds up with a 4-1-4-2 structure, the most common structures for build-up currently. Initially, both Inter wingbacks move high and the midfielders man-mark the opponent at the center of the pitch. Backline keeps 3v3, or in a 4v4 situation, one midfielder drops deep as well. The man-marking at the center and positioning on the first line of pressure force the opponent to play wide. Usually, the ball-sided wingback jumps on the wide opponent, first line closes the passing option back to the center back or goalkeeper. Midfielders still on opponent midfielders, and center back aggressively follow opponent attackers in case they drop deep to offer support. Theoretically there is no exit, however practically there can be cases opponent can still escape from the pressure. To prevent dangerous progression when initially the opponent plays towards one side, the opposite wingback always sprints back to provide +1 for the backline. If the opponent tries to play long, Inter still keep their +1 at the backline. In addition, all of their center backs are excelled in aerial duels against long ball threats. If the opponent builds up with a 3-1 or 3-2 structure, one wingback directly stays back and only one wingback push higher. Similar intentions such as man marking at the center, forcing the opponent to play wide, and traps at those regions continue. If the opponent can push Inter to mid or low block, or Inter prefer to wait there, then 5-3-2 shows its beauty again. In fact, 5-3-2 mid-low block is becoming more and more common in today's football and can be really considered as one of the most effective ways to defend your box. Urs Fischer's Union Berlin created miracles with it last season. Thomas Frank's Brentford have been creating so many problems against strong EPL opponents preferring to use positional play heavily. In this scenario, wingbacks drop deep to the backline, the shape naturally closes the center of the pitch for the opponent's progression. When the opponent plays wide, if possible, instead of the wingback jumping to the deep wide player, the second line of pressure shuffles so that the team can still preserve numerical equity or superiority around the ball and at the backline. As the opponent switches the play from side to side, Inter second line patiently shuffles until the opponent make a mistake or try to play from the center of the pitch. Let's have a look at this example. Inter have the score advantage against Monza and settle deeper. Monza try finding an opening through switch plays. So here we are seeing Inter is settling with 5-3-2. As you can see, a very compact shape and also very narrow in the middle. So it is very difficult for Monza to progress through middle. So they are trying to go around the block. You can see here they are playing into the wider areas, but the second line is quickly shifting and closing. So there is no superiority in the wider area. There is no superiority on the back line. So Monza is going back and switching again. While they are switching, you can see the second line is already shuffling, and now the deep wider player is already matched with Barella. So second line already covered this area. Going back again, switching one more time. Second line already shuffled. Again, if we look here, we don't see any superiority. So Monza goes back again against Inter. Try to switch again. Once again, we see a switch. They try to play a central pass, but there's no problem for Inter. No superiority for Monza. Again, once again, they are going back, switching the play. And second line already shuffled again. Here there is no superiority for Monza. Once again, they are trying to switch. Second line once again already shuffled. So Barella is already here. So no progression for Monza again. Going back switching and it goes on like this. Meanwhile, both-sided players at the backline tightly mark their opponents in the same corridor. If the opponent players try up and down runs to create space, the backline doesn't consider the zone they are defending but stick on their man. If the opponent can switch quickly enough that the second line cannot reach the speed of the ball, then wingback jumps on the opponent's deep wide player while shadowing the other wide player, and Inter players quickly close the space behind the wingback. It is very difficult to find central space against this approach. From the defensive stats we mentioned earlier, it is clear that Inter have really perfected this approach and can be easily considered having one of the strongest defensive systems in the world right now. The formation simplicity also helps Inter to initiate high press from lower blocks when the players sense a dynamic advantage, such as when the opponent plays a weak back pass. Similarly, if the opponent overcomes the high press, then it is quite simple to settle at mid or low block. It's just asking a bit effort from wingbacks to run back and forth. And Inzaghi is totally aware of this extra workload on his wingbacks. If we look at his substitutions during a game, we see between 60th and 75th minutes of the games, he usually refreshes his wingbacks, usually both and at least one of them during the game. Therefore, the squad depth for the wingback position is very important for him, and he has a very good rotation available for himself at Inter. Although Inter are extremely solid in the out-of-possession phase, what makes them unique is their ideas during in-possession phase and the way they show how fluid their positional play can be. After a convincing victory, it's a common praise you can hear from Inzaghi to tell in a post-game interview how well the lads occupied the pitch. However, compared to many other teams trying to use position and distances as important references, Inter plays an incredibly dynamic football when they have the ball. In Inter's case, if the player sees a space around, whether he's a center back or a striker or a wing back or a central midfielder, if he is close to the space, he's encouraged to move to that space. The players are very comfortable doing this because they know once they leave their space, their teammate closest to this space will fill the space they are leaving. This results in positional rotations everywhere on the pitch. Wingbacks switch with wide center backs, regista with center back or with other two central midfielders with wingbacks or even with wide center backs. Everybody rotates at Inter and they do these rotations in a very smooth, natural way, like they are dancing on the field. And this dance eventually helps them to always be at the right space at the right time. And also to create superiorities, either positional or numerical superiorities, much faster than more rigid approaches. All of a sudden, they create a huge crowd around the ball or a free man between within the lines. As an example, let's follow this sequence together. Here we first see everybody starts at their positions, 3 center backs at the back, Çalhanoğlu in front of them, 2 wing backs wide and high, number 8s at inner corridors, 2 strikers at the top. Lazio is defending with a narrow 4-3-3. The first line is trying to close the passing angles to midfielders. As Çalhanoğlu cannot find a passing angle, we see him dropping deep and Inter shifts to a wider 4-man base. As Mkhitaryan and Barella sees this change, they drop deep as well. And now we are seeing Inter having a wider 4-2 shape from a narrower 3-1 shape. Lazio gives a good response to this change and turns sort of a man-to-man marking. We see Lautaro between the lines and Inter is trying to find him, but again, Lazio defend well here. They don't give any superiority to Inter in the wide area as the midfielder drops between the line and the fullback jumps on the wingback. So Inter reshuffles. One thing Inter players use at every part of the pitch is this idea of give and go. The central player passes the ball to the wider area and then attacks the space. As his marker follows him, he can possibly create space for another player behind him. Here Acerbi moves, but Çalhanoğlu is already marked, so the idea doesn't work in the first try. So Inter turn back to Sommer, and as Darmian drops deep, they turn into a 4-1 structure again. Lazio defend well in the wide area once again, don't allow space for Çalhanoğlu and Barella who are offering support. So Inter go back to the original 3-1 structure. But this time they overload the left flank with Bastoni staying wider and Çalhanoğlu dropping deep to the three-man base. And these give and goes continue to create space for left center back position specifically so that they can use the superiority at the left flank. First, Çalhanoğlu plays with the wider Pavard and attacks the space. Pavard tries to find Acerbi, but Gündüz'i jumps well and closes the space. So Inter tries again, this time Pavard moves to center and then Barella drops deep next to him. So Pavard plays to Barella, Pavard moves, attacks the space, and Barella finds Acerbi. This time Mkhitaryan is blocking Gündüz'i here, so Acerbi finds time and space to progress with the ball to the left flank where Inter already has superiority. In order to close this superiority to this advantage, Lazio defenders all attack to this area, and this gives chance for Inter to find some space at the center. And here we see a very good example of a third man play between Barella, Lautaro Martinez, who is dropping between the lines, and Mkhitaryan attacking the space in front of him. This allows Inter to enter the opponent box, and eventually Darmian's cross ends up with a half chance for Inter. As you can see, these ideas spread every sub-phase of in-possession phase. When the build-up from the back starts with Sommer, we see one wing back pushing high and Inter starts with a 4-1 structure. If Dumfries is playing, usually he moves high, acts almost like a third striker for potential in-behind runs with an advantage in his physicality. If Darmian playing as right wing back, usually DiMarco waits a little higher. Meanwhile, Barella carefully checks opponent's press. If he thinks the 4-1 build-up struggles, he drops deep to support and Inter easily turn into a 4-2 structure. The wide player of the back four usually stay a little higher, but if the opponent is aggressively pressing, we also see Inter's flexibility to have the wide players deeper to attract pressure and create space at the center of the pitch. In these situations, if Dumfries is not playing, it's also possible to see both wing backs to play deeper and the central center back moves next to Çalhanoğlu to create overload at the center. Against any type of high press, with the encouraged freedom, positional rotations and excellent decision making, Inter players can break opponent pressure and find the free man. The first free man to break the pressure is usually the center midfielders, dropping forwards or even sometimes wide center backs attacking the space in front of them, and once they break the pressure, they are so good at increasing the tempo. With Çalhanoğlu, Pavard, Bastoni, they are very good in these situations, comfortably playing pinpoint long diagonals to wider areas or smart passes between the lines to find the free man wherever he is on the pitch. Usually the next free men are the wingbacks, who are like arrows dashing into opponent's field from wider areas. Especially DiMarco is the preferred target at the left side, as he is really good at deliveries to the box or against strikers, both having very good technique for link-up play, and Inter create threatening situations against unsettled opponents. With wingbacks and Barella's incredible energy to run back and forth, Mkhitaryan's ability to sense the space in and around the box, Lautaro's and Thuram's quality, versatility and physicality, Inter overload opponents' box in a very short time and create chances. Like their defensive line height in out-of-possession strategy, Inter's verticality in possession phase heavily depends on opponent's strategy and quality during pressing. If Inzaghi sees a qualitative advantage with his forwards over the opponent's backline and the opponent tries pressing high aggressively, like their biggest rival AC Milan did, Inter forced the opponent's press to leave 1v1s at the backline and exploit these advantageous situations through more direct balls. If the opponent settles at mid-block or low block, Inter can use many weapons to unsettle them. In wide areas, wide center-backs, usually Pavard and Bastoni, who are extremely technical for a center-back level, join the attack to create overloads. Center midfielders, if not rotating with wide center-backs, attack half spaces, and positional rotations continue until Inter finds space between, within, or behind the opponent line. Back 5 or back 4, whatever the structure opponent uses to defend at low block, after creating an overload, Inter are very good at playing at tight spaces and find the free man, who is usually at the half spaces. And while looking for the free man, since they always continue logically occupying the space, they always keep a strong rest defense structure that helps them to recycle possession or be resistant against opponent counterattacks in case of possession losses. For example, we mentioned how hard it is to play against 5-3-2 low block. Inter in fact give free classes on how teams should play against this type of defense. Look for the Juve game, for example, the moment right before the first goal, how they overloaded the wide areas. Here, first of all, there is a rotation at the left flank. Bastoni is at the wingback position, Mkhitaryan is at deep half space, and Di Marco is at advanced half space. Di Marco sees the space, sees Lautaro and Thuram are man-marked, and takes the initiative to come to the opposite half space to create a 2v1 over Juventus's wide centre-back. Here positional rotations continue at the right side. We see first Barella attacks the half space, but he's followed by Juventus midfielders, and after that he rotates with Pavard, and we are seeing at the same time Çalhanoğlu is replacing a deeper position to give protection at the backline. And when Pavard attacks, we see that Di Marco and Pavard are creating a 2v1 over the US wide centre-back. Even the cross returns here, Bastoni covers Di Marco's area, Mkhitaryan covers Bastoni's, Barella at Pavard's region, Çalhanoğlu is at the back for protection. Looks like everybody shuffled randomly, but everybody is actually occupying the pitch with positional logic, keeping a solid structure with controlling distances carefully, which makes the team to have a strong rest defense structure as well. One other thing that is worth to mention is the number of weapons Inter used to attack. With the increased use of statistics in football, the reliance on crosses and long shots decreased significantly. However, Inter are proving a compelling point. They have some excellent long shot threats and crossers. With this player group, Inter continue using these neglected weapons, and the fact that they are really good at creating danger through early crosses and long shots makes the opponent take precautions against them. This means if, for example, Di Marco gets the ball in wide area or Çalhanoğlu sees the goal from 30 yards, the opponent defender will have to jump on them. And this naturally unsettles the block and creates space for Inter to exploit at the central pockets. By keeping the opposition guessing and forcing them to defend against a variety of attacking avenues, Inter maximize their offensive potency and demonstrate that diversity in approach can be just as effective as statistical trends suggest. Well, after coming to this point in my analysis, I'm sure you won't be surprised if I tell you Inter are also flexible and adaptable in transitions. When Inter have possession, we see Barella as their most ball-oriented player. What I mean is that he approaches the ball even if it is at the opposite flank. He is technically a very good player, no doubt that this is a reason for him to be more ball-oriented, but another important reason is the fact that he is a master at counter-pressing. When Barella is around the ball, it is much easier for Inter to get the ball back after they lose possession. If they don't have the good conditions settled for counter-pressing, Inter players are also selfless and hardworking at running back and very quick at resettling to their 5-3-2 structure. When they gain possession, they usually want to start a counter-attack. Those can be sometimes a little interesting moments. As we discussed, the backline of Inter usually play very aggressive and follow their man if they drop deep. If this higher center-back is involved in the situation when Inter gain possession, then without hesitation they also join the counter-attack, while another teammate watch their back. So you shouldn't be really surprised if you see De Vrij or Acerbi all of a sudden is the last man at Inter's counter-attack. Those are chaotic moments, but Inter players, again, so quick and good at occupying the pitch, all of a sudden they can reorganize in those chaotic moments. Apart from those surprising situational additions, similar to the moments they break, the high press, wingbacks and central midfielders run towards the opponent box and forwards offer link-up play at the center. Finally, when it comes to set pieces, they are also very comfortable at defending and effective at attacking. They scored 9 goals from set pieces in Serie A, highest with Juventus, and conceded only 2, the best. Especially in attacking corners, they overload the near post with their best headers and have 2 runners, one through the center and the other to the far post to follow potential flicks from the near post. They also have the advantages of playing with 3 tall center backs, using the extra physicality of Thuram and Dumfries, and also having very good set piece takers like Di Marco and Çalhanoğlu. They are also not shy to use long throws or try long crosses from deep set pieces to create threats. Inzaghi created this incredible team, an adaptable, flexible, unpredictable, efficient and effective machine that is programmed to destroy their opponents. And while doing that, they mesmerize their supporters and neutrals enjoying fluid football. In my opinion, Inter should be considered the most complete team in the world right now. Whatever their intention is, they do it perfectly and they don't really have any clear weaknesses. While I'm making this video, Inter are already 9 points ahead of their closest rival in Serie A with a game in hand, looking very likely to win Scudetto, and already won the Italian Super Cup. Now the supporters have started asking the question of whether they can add a third cup this season by winning the Champions League, a competition that hadn't been expected to be won by an Italian team in recent years, but it has become a realistic ambition again with Inter. If they can maintain this level, they are certainly one of the heavy favorites of the Champions League, and I can't see any reason why they can't sustain this beautiful football. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of football's greatest teams. Until next time, keep enjoying the beautiful game.